Hello everyone and welcome back to Scandinavian Design 101. I'm Sanna.
I'm Andreas and we are two Swedes and we love design.
You're very stripy today.
Yeah, I'm very stripy, yeah. And this week we're going to talk about the influential Swedish modernist designer Axel Larsson. Mm-hmm. And if you're into Scandinavian design, you've probably heard about him. But his name is sadly forgotten today by the general public, even in Sweden. Back in the days, he was a huge source of inspiration for designers like Bruno Mathsson, for example.
Yeah. Axel Larsson was born in 1898, so it's a long time ago, in a small village located in the province Medelpad in the central part of Sweden. His father worked at a factory producing wood pulp, and most people in the area were in one way or another working in forestry. At the age of 17, the young Axel moved to his sister and her husband in the town of Östersund, some 100 kilometers to the north. The brother-in-law was an architect previously living in Stockholm. At the time, he owned a furniture company, and much thanks to him, Axel started thinking of a career in furniture design. In the workshop, he learned the basics of joinery, and parallel with that, he also studied drawing at the local evening school.
And finally, in 1916, he was accepted as a student at the technical school in Stockholm. And he came to study in Stockholm for several years, but his fiancée Britta lived in Östersund, so he traveled a lot between her and the capital. At the time, furniture design was a new occupation in Sweden, and until then, furniture had actually been designed by the carpenters also producing them. But the increasing industrialization changed this. Still, there was no specific furniture design course at the school, and also no wooden workshop suitable for furniture production. And that's a problem, of course. You can just draw the furniture, but you can't really make them. Parallel to his last year of study in 1919, Axel started working as a designer in the studio of the famous architect Carl Malmsten. At the time, Malmsten, who got his great breakthrough a couple of years earlier with furniture for the Stockholm City Hall, was producing exclusive and unique furniture for different large commissions. It's a bit unclear exactly what Axel did at the firm, but it was obviously a huge opportunity for him to work with such an established architect.
Yeah. In 1920, Axel graduated and started planning for a career of his own. Sadly, the conditions were far from great in Sweden at the time. Unemployment rates were high and a lot of companies got bankrupt. Too many furniture industries had emerged in the country and the economic reality was harsh. Luckily, Axel could work for his brother-in-law, making a living. He also earned money by attending different design competitions. He spent his money traveling Europe, visiting exhibitions and colleagues. Inspired by this, he started focusing almost entirely on function and abandoned decorative elements and unnecessary decorations. At the 1925 Paris exhibition, he was highly critical against all the overly decorated furniture.
Yeah. An important milestone in Axel's career happened in 1925 when he was offered a job at the Stockholm office of Svenska Möbelfabrikera, the Swedish furniture factories. And it was one of the oldest furniture companies in Sweden, founded already in 1872, so it's a long time ago, and mainly located in the small community Bodafors in the southern part of Sweden. It's close to where we live.
It is 40 minutes, right?
Yeah. Sometimes the company is just called Bodafors, but that's actually the location of the factory and nothing else. And the company got a new director in 1924 who understood the importance of hiring designers. He saw furniture by Axel Larsson at an exhibition in Stockholm and offered him a freelance job as a designer for the company. Axel was flattered, but he didn't want to work as a freelance. After some tough negotiations, he was finally offered a permanent job as a designer at the Stockholm office. At the small office with only 4 employees, Axel started making a range of rough sketches, later refined and adapted to production by carpenters at the factory. So it was like a combination almost of the old ways when the carpenters designed
and
then
new ways.
yeah.
The transition.
Yeah, the transition. The artistic freedom was highly limited at the time, and the elderly chief architect at the company was still focusing on traditional ornamented furniture. But over the following years, Axel slowly influenced the company with radical ideas and was allowed to design more functional furniture inspired by European modernism.
In 1928, Axel and Britta got married, moved to an apartment in the fashionable Stockholm district Östermalm. And in the following years, the couple got 4 children. During this time, Axel attended several design competitions and was hired by the Swedish Society of Crafts and Design to design suitable examination projects for cabinet makers' apprentices.
Yeah.
By some, I don't know, but that was difficult to say. Otherwise, he spent much of his time at the design office developing new models for Svenska Möbelfabrikera.
Yeah. In 1930, a groundbreaking exhibition was held in Stockholm. And the Great Stockholm Exhibition was arranged by the Society of Arts and Crafts in collaboration with the city of Stockholm and was the great breakthrough of functionalism in Scandinavia. And inspired by international modernist movement, the organizers promoted clean and functional constructions adapted for mass production. The 32-year-old Axel Larsson shared most of these radical ideas and was a given part of the exhibition. He designed a long range of furniture, among them a bunk bed made from tubular steel and an exclusive dining set called diners. Above this, he was also awarded a prize in the 2 categories small chair and comfortable chair. And Axel's small chair was a simple construction called furu, pine, upholstered in linen webbing. It was indeed a modernist-looking piece of furniture, light yet strong, and made from a minimal of materials. Later, Axel came to refine the model into some of his most successful designs ever. The comfortable chair, called X8, was on the other hand an upholstered armchair with quite traditional lines, and the aesthetic was hardly bold, and it's no surprise this chair was soon forgotten.
So it's very basic.
Yeah, very basic.
After the 1930s exhibition, serial production was accepted by customers, and suddenly it wasn't embarrassing to own the same chair as your neighbor.
No.
Also, Svenska Möbelfabrikera accepted this new concept, and the same year Axel Larsson designed his first standardized range of furniture for the company. It was simply named the 900 series, and soon more than 60 different pieces were available in the catalog. Among them, some of the pieces exhibited at the Stockholm exhibition. More furniture series followed. The 800 series was released in 1934. It was a bit cheaper, only available made from polished birch and not as clean and elaborated as its predecessor. Axel was promoted to chief of the Stockholm office in 1935 and continued designing furniture series until the mid-40s. Most famous is perhaps the chairs designed for the 1200 series, not least the small armchair 1208.
Yeah.
Now let's take a look at some of these furniture.
Yeah.
Can't just talk about them.
No. Axel came to work for Svenska Möbelfabrikera for the most part of his career. He was responsible for a large number of interiors, among them several hotels, banks and even ships. And most important was, without doubt, the Gothenburg Concert Hall, finished in 1935. And we won't talk about these interiors, but show you some pictures of them, so let's take a look. He continued designing a huge lot of furniture, but sales weren't as great as the management had hoped for. Despite modernizations in the production and not least a new showroom in central Stockholm, the negative trend continued in the late 40s and the early 50s. Finally, the company was sold to a large Swedish corporate group in 1954. And this meant a lot of changes. The number of different furniture models produced were significantly reduced, and the profile of the company changed. And soon the name Svenska Möbelfabrikera was dropped, and left was simply Bodafors. It's perhaps a simpler name.
But it's weird.
Yeah.
Because it's a place.
Yeah. And Axel didn't want to be a part of this transformation and resigned in 1956 at the age of 58.
Yeah. Luckily for the unemployed Axel, he was approached by the large insurance company Folksam, who needed someone to create the interiors of their new large offices in central Stockholm. And they wanted Axel for the job. Yeah. Encouraged by this, he decided to start a new design studio of his own. The new company had its office at the prominent Stockholm district of Östermalm, where they lived, and Axel started calling himself interior architect and advisor.
Fancy.
It was a one-man business, but sometimes he also hired an assistant.
Yeah. The first large project for the self-employed architect was, as we already mentioned, the large Folksam building. And it was a 27-story building and the project would take Axel 3 years to finish. So it was great to get this project in the start of his career as self-employed.
Of course.
About 20 different chairs, 25 tables and a whole bunch of other furniture were developed specifically for this project. Typical for the chairs designed for the project was an open back, giving them a light appearance. One example of this was the organic-looking cafe chair designed for the canteen. And the project was a success, and Axel got several other large commissions in the following years, among them hotels, restaurants, embassies, and other official buildings. And parallel with this, he continued designing some furniture for Bodafors, among them the stackable chair 8108. Boring names Bodafors had, yeah. At the same time, he also designed the commercially successful but extremely boring, I would say, chair S312 for the company Baltzar Beskov. Okay. It's still in production, and more than 2 million of them have been produced over the years. So it's a success. No, it's boring, but it's functional chair, yeah. And worth mentioning is also the tubular steel chair Banquette, designed in 1960 for Lindqvist.
The last commission Axel ever got was a floor plan for the Swedish Medical Association, but it was sadly never finished. Axel passed away in 1975 at the age of 77. By then, he had been working in the furniture business for more than 50 years.
Yes. And this was it for today. And even if you haven't heard about Axel Larsson before, hope you found it interesting. And if you did,
please click thumbs up and subscribe.
Yeah, and follow us on Instagram. We are called Scandinavian Design 101.
Yeah, thank you for watching.
Thank you.